Anything that you can imagine can be built on the EOS.io platform.
Big businesses that have inventory management, banks that need to manage records, stock exchanges that need to manage trades, they can build all of this on the EOS.io software.
Now, a lot of people at this time are re-envisioning existing businesses on the blockchain, and I think that's going to be a lot of the first wave of innovation.
To build the next Airbnb and the next Uber that allows passengers and drivers to interact without having to go through the dollar, without having to have a middleman taking out a fee of every interaction.
But as we go forth, I think that it's hard to even imagine the types of things that are actually going to be built. The blockchain doesn't just allow us to upgrade existing types of organizations, it allows us to reimagine everything. In the old world, or in the internet space, we used to be building our companies around the existing constraints of fiat currency, something like the US dollar. We don't think about this, but there's tremendous limitations. And what's happening now is we're incorporating the currency into the product development process. And not only does that allow us to build more competitive organizations of existing business models, but it allows us to reimagine the whole world and socially engineer things that are hard for us to even understand now. To extrapolate out how far this technology is going to go and the degree which we can reimagine business models and social engineer concepts is really, really hard to do right now. The technology to build Facebook was around in the early 90s, but it didn't happen for a decade later. And that took us understanding and manipulating the technology for a long period of time to really start deploying those new business models that didn't have anything to do with existing businesses. It was a complete reimagination of how we live our lives today.
Blockchains add a level of efficiency and accountability and transparency that doesn't exist in the financial world. It also gives a level of security that is unprecedented.
It's becoming no longer acceptable to just timestamp something on a central server and then expect that people can rely on that information. There's been too many instances where we can't, whether there's censorship or whether there's changing of information. The blockchain is changing that, and it's becoming part of best practices. When I timestamp a news article on the blockchain, I know it's reliable, and everyone knows that I was serious about it. When I put content on the blockchain, they know it wasn't censored, they know it wasn't changed, and if it was changed, there's a record of when and how it was changed exactly.
Normally you have a website and it's got a server. If that server gets compromised, you can either lose all the data, or the server admin or the hacker who impersonates the admin can change the records around in an untraceable way. But with blockchain technology, you've decentralized the authentication. You no longer send your password to the server, which means that everyone is more secure. Or if a hacker compromises the system, they compromise one person instead of everybody all at once. So you don't have people cooking the books after the fact, which is very, very important for financial institutions, but it also matters in a social environment where people are worried about censorship.
So businesses taking advantage of blockchain to build trust with their consumers is a huge opportunity from an enterprise software perspective. But what I think the blockchain's big impact is going to be is actually reinventing businesses in a new type of way that leverages open source code so that everyone can be involved. If we take an example of something like Uber, you've got value extractors, you've got value creators, drivers, and you got shareholders, right? But what a blockchain organization allows is, in addition to expanding the core development team from potentially 20 to 30 people to billions of people, meaning anyone in the world could wake up and audit the open source code and add value to the network. Right? It also aligns all the parties. So using a token, now anyone that's touching the platform is exposed to the health of the whole organization. And when you have millions of people waking up every day saying this is the future, what we're seeing is unprecedented invested interest that is unbeatable.